Hello, geometry. This is Miss Bartels teaching today's lesson on areas of circles and sectors. The past 2 days you've been working on arc lengths and circumference that was taught by Mr. Grum. Today we are covering the area portion of that. You'll start to notice a pattern. It's very similar to circumference. There's just a different formula for area. And so you will see that arc length when we deal with area of sectors, all we are switching over is the formulas. So to start, we have our area of the circle, which is A is equal to pi r squared. Some of you may recognize that, and from yesterday, you learned that r is the radius. So let's practice that. When it says find the exact, let's work on number 1. So go ahead and write this down on a separate piece of paper. We have the radius of 5, because remember, radius is half of it. Let's get a different color in here. So radius is half of it. So exact would be pi, remember it's pi r squared is the area. So we have pi and then 5 squared. Well, I want to write that a little bit nicer. We know 5 squared is 25. And pi. So I just moved this in the front. I know the formula says pi r squared, but it looks cleaner when you say 25 pi. So we're going to write it like that. So approximate, that's what it is when you multiply it in a calculator. So I'm going to go over to our scientific calculator. We're going to type 25 pi in, and we get 78.5398. So let's round it up. Let's do 78.54. Let's make that decimal a little bit more noticeable. And that's our first one. For number 2, do we notice we are no longer given the radius? We are given the diameter, which is the whole thing. Well, for area, we need the radius. So let's just split it up into 4 and 4. So now that can help us solve the problem. So for exact, we know we have pi r squared. 4 squared is 16. And then we leave that pi. So for approximate, let's go to our calculator. We have 16 pi, which is 50.265. We're rounding to 3 decimal places. If you notice on this one, if I rounded to 3, it would have turned into a 0. Just to clarify that. Okay, and next one. When you see the asterisk, you know it's going to be something a little bit different. It says find the radius if the area is 30 inches squared. So, if the area is 30, let's zoom in a little bit, that means 30 has to equal pi r squared. So your first thing you want to do is divide by pi to get rid of that pi. We're going to do the same thing to the left. I'm going to go to my calculator and do 30 divided by pi, because honestly, I don't know that off the top of my head. So 30 divided by pi is 9.55. Or let's keep it as 9.549. 9.549. And that's equal to r squared. Okay? And now we all know to undo a square, you square root it. So we're going to square root the left side as well. So I'm going to find my square root button. And I'm actually just going to type in the answer key because that will copy that in there. And we get 3.090. So we're just going to write r is equal to 3.09. And there's our radius. Go ahead and look over those 3 problems if you want to process it. Otherwise, we're moving on to our challenge questions. So, for the first one, it says, find the area of the shaded region. Well, what I like to do first is, since the radius here is 4, we can find the area of the white region. So let's find the area of this circle. So the area is going to be pi r squared. We actually already did the calculations for that one. If you notice, they're right here. Has the same radius. So we're actually just going to use our answer from up there. We're going to use the exact answer though, because that's going to keep our answer more exact than we would. So we know that the area of this circle is 16 pi, but we can also tell that the area of that circle is 16 pi. So keep that in mind as we continue. Now we have to find the area of the entire rectangle. So if the radius is 4, that means, let's zoom in, let's get this very clear. If the radius is 4, that means this is 4, this is 4, this is 4, and this is 4. So if we add all of those together, we know the height of this rectangle is 16. So let's find the length of it. Let's go with orange. If this is 4, then this has to be 4 as well. So that means we know the length is 8. So we know the area of that is just going to be our base times the height, which is 8 times 16. So I'm going to put that in the calculator so we have it. Oh, did not mean to type that in. 8 times 16, and we get 128. Okay. Now we can use all of this information to find the area of the black shaded region. So, if the entire rectangle is 128 inches squared, we can find the shaded part by just subtracting the two circles, because those are not shaded. So we're going to subtract our two 16 pi's. And then that will give us the shaded region. So let's do that. And this is why I kept 16 pi. So we're going to put our answer in there. And we're going to subtract our 16 pi and subtract another 16 pi. Let's see what we get. 27.469. So let's do 27.47. And that is our area of the shaded region. Okay, if you would like to try the next one on your own, go ahead and pause the video here and give it a try. Otherwise, let's get started. So, we need to find the area of the shaded region first. So let's just find the area of this entire larger circle. So to do that, we need our radius, which is 8. So we have pi 8 squared. And we're going to switch that over to the exact answer. So 8 squared is 64 pi. So that's the area of the entire circle. So I'll just keep that scribble there to help you visually. Now let's find the smaller white circle. So we're going to find this. Now underneath the scribbles, there we go, clear that up. We have the radius of 3. So that is going to be our pi 3 squared. And to make that exact, 3 squared is 9 pi. Okay, so to find the area of the shaded region, we just have to subtract the 2. So 64 pi is the whole circle. Subtract the white area, which is 9 pi. Let's get our answer. So 64 pi minus 9 pi gives us 172.788. So let's just say 172.788. And for rounding on homework, just make sure you look at what the question asked you to round to, and that will clarify what to round to. But during class, we like to round to 3 decimal places just because it keeps everything a lot more accurate when we do the calculations. Okay? So zoom out of those problems. If you would like to review them, go ahead and pause the video here. Okay. Let's move on to the area of a sector. So a sector of a circle is pretty much just a pie slice is how I word it. The textbook definition is a region bounded by 2 radii of a circle and its intercepted arc. So this yellow shaded area right here, that is a sector, and we are going to find the area of that. If you notice, the area of the sector formula right here is almost exactly the same as the arc length. The only difference is you have your area formula right there. That's the only difference from what you did yesterday. So let's go ahead and practice that. So we have our 70, because that's our sector, the orange sector. Let's keep it with the colors. It looks like we have to find both of them. Or find the sector formed by UTV. UTV, okay, it's just the orange one. So we have the orange having the measurement of 70 degrees, and we put that over 360. And multiply that by pi r squared. So now let's simplify. Actually, we could just type that straight into the calculator. If you want to simplify it first and do 8 squared and get 64, that's fine. Otherwise, go straight to the calculator and it can do it for you. So in parentheses, we have our 70 divided by 360, and then pi r squared. And where's the squared? We get 39 point, it's going to round to 10 because the 9 is going to get bumped up. So 39.1. Or let's keep it all. Let's do 39.095. Oh, whoops. Okay. Inches squared. There we go. That is the area of the orange sector. Okay, for the next one, it does say each sector, so we are going to have to find the area of the orange and the area of the blue. So let's start with the orange. We have our 120 over the 360 times pi r, which is 14, the radius is 14, squared. Let's do that. 120 divided by 360 times pi r squared. What was r again? 14. And we get 205.251. Double check that. And then that's feet squared. So that is the area of our orange sector. Let's turn to blue so we can do the blue sector. So in order to find the angle measurement that we put over 360, we have to find what this is. And since we know the whole circle is 360 degrees. All we have to do is 360 minus 120. And we get 240. So now we have 240 over 360. So I'll put that on the side over here. 360 minus 120 gave us that 240. That's just a little blurb to the side. And now we do pi r squared. Put that in the calculator. 240 over 360 pi r squared. And we get 410.501. Feet squared. Okay, those are both our areas of the sector. Let's move down to these two. These next two, if you notice, it is given our area. So it looks like, oops, this says find the area. It looks like we are going to have to find the radius. So I'm going to put a correction right there. So we have the area being 35. And we have the degree being 40 over 360. Correction. It says find the area V, and I will get back to that in a second with you. Caught my mistake. So, sorry, let's go back. We have 35 as the area, so that goes right there. We have the angle measurement of 40 over 360. And then we have pi r squared. We have to find the radius in order to find the area of the entire circle. So that's what I wanted to clarify. Now, yesterday, Mr. Grum in his video, or 2 days ago, Mr. Grum in his video said to divide by the fraction 40 over 360. And that is correct if that's the way you are understanding how to do it. I'm going to show you a little bit of a trick. So we're going to do a quick little mini lesson about why this makes sense. So if I were to say 1/2 times 4, wouldn't you say the answer's 2 because a half of 4 is 2? Well, if we just threw that 4 on the top and said 4 divided by 2, you would still get the same answer. So we're going to do that when it comes to this problem here. So my little trick is I just curve my fraction line. Let's get a bright color in there so you can see it as I choose brown. We're going to curve our fraction line and put everything on the top, on the numerator. So that's my little trick. So now we have 35 is equal to 40 pi r squared over 360. And if you notice something, I'm about to do some cross multiplication. So put this over 1. We get 35 times 360. You're going to get a big number, but that's okay. We get 12,600 is equal to, and then anything times 1 is itself, so we're just going to copy down what we have right up here. So now we have a more simple equation to solve. Our next step to solving this would be to divide by 40 pi and divide by 40 pi. Let's do that. Answer divided by 40 pi. We get 100.267. So now we have 100.267 is equal to r squared. And you know what the next step is to undo a square root, or a square, you square root it. So let's square root that answer. Oops. So square root, and then I'm going to put the answer in there. So we get 10.0 10.013. So R is equal to 10.013. So that's our radius. So that was a lot of work right there. Now we do still have to find that area. So I'm going to put an arrow up here. We're going to start that. So we just have to do pi r, and our r was 10.013 squared. And that will find the area. So pi, and then parentheses, I'm just going to put the answer in there, and then square that. We get 315. Do you see what happens when we use the exact answer? So I used all of that 10.0133777. I used all of it, and I got a perfect number out of it. So I highly recommend just copying the answer every single time. So 315 meters squared is the area of the entire circle. So all of this, that's what we just found. This 35 only belonged to that sector, to clarify that. Okay, on to the next, the black and white version. Looks like find the radius of H. So it looks like we're doing the same thing we did before, but we don't have to solve for the whole area. So go ahead and pause the video if you want to do it on your own. Otherwise, we're going to go through with the explanation. So we have 4.8 being the area, and then 88 being the degree over our 360 pi r squared. So again, I'm going to do my trick, and I just put all of that on the top. So now we have 4.8 is equal to 88 pi r squared over 360, and put it over 1. Cross multiply. So 360 times 4.8 is 1728. And then we have our 88 pi r squared. Next step is to divide by our 88 pi. Divide by 88 pi. So answer, divide by 88 pi. 6.25 equals r squared. And last step, to undo a square, you square root it. So again, I'm going to use all of that. So I'm going to square root, and then I'm just going to put the answer button in there, and we get 2.5. See how clean that looks? So r is equal to 2.5. And it looks like that was the question it was asking, find the radius. Okay, so there we go. Pause the video there if you would like to review the work to those questions. Otherwise, down in the bottom left, surrounded by the amount of work, you have the homework. It is a Go formative, so it is not due today. This will be due, not due, classwork for, what day is it today? You will be watching this tomorrow, which is Thursday, so you will have to do this Friday. So don't be afraid if you can't find it. And also, it's not a Go formative, it's a big idea math. So it's a BIM. There's a lot of corrections right there. So, underneath the messy work, that's the homework. Thanks for listening to the video, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of your teachers. And stay safe. Thank you.